Hey guys, and welcome back to the Yes Means Yes podcast. As always, my name is Faith Naumcheff. I am the ARP Counseling and Outreach Coordinator with Rape Counselors of East Alabama. Today on our podcast, I am going to be talking about a very specific example of rape culture in media. Rape culture is something that definitely can thrive on outlets like social media, right? Because you have anyone and everyone can make whatever comments they want on anything. You have an unlimited amount of users who can give their opinions at any time, and it's not censored. So that means that rape culture type ideals, victim blaming women specifically for men's actions, things like that happen very, very regularly. So I want to take a look into the big example that I feel like sticks out in media to me, and that is the difference in the way the media portrays Pete Davidson and the way that the media portrays Taylor Swift. I will be the first one to say that do I have a bias towards Taylor Swift? Of course. I have been a fan and listened to her music since I was a kid, since her debut album, and I am still a very huge fan of hers. Seen her concerts, watch the movie, all that. However, I think that this example of media is able to show how things have bettered now, and also to show, just kind of the path that Swift had to go through to where female artists today aren't facing as much. Now, are they? Yes, absolutely. As long as there's a patriarchy, a culture of rape will continue on. But I think that it is important to note the differences. Had Taylor Swift come to fame during this era when she was going through, her younger years, would the media have responded differently? Maybe, hopefully. But I want to kind of take it back. So one of the big first examples I want to use is the 2009 VMAs. This was the year that Taylor Swift won for, I believe it was the best music video of the year, whatever. Taylor Swift is 19 years old at this time. She has released, I think, 2 of her albums. And 32-year-old Kanye West came up while she was getting her award and said basically Beyonce deserved it. Now, whether or not, I'm not saying that that's accurate or inaccurate what he said. The point is that this continued year-long type feud with West. When in all reality, it should have been immediately Swift was the victim. She was a child, right? It was made into kind of this joke, this big thing, but it was a moment where a man was taken more seriously because he was older and more successful and was not really rightfully punished or criticized in media for bullying a child. So let's kind of follow this narrative with West and Taylor Swift, and let's look at the instance. I believe it was 2016. I'm trying to make sure I have the dates right here. 2016, okay? In which West calls Taylor and asks if he can mention her in a lyric. And she specifically asked, is it going to be mean? And he told her that what he was going to say was, I feel like Taylor Swift might owe me sex. Swift, in response, is seen, laughing and saying that's not me. You can clearly tell in the video recording Swift is uncomfortable with this, but she's this is 2016, so she's 26 years old. Again, an older man in power who has obviously not really respected her in the past. And I think that perhaps it was just kind of like a, yeah, sure, just nothing, nothing more, and don't make it any worse than that, right? Just being kind of a good sport to keep the friendly relationship after everything. She then specifically said she did not want to be called a bitch. And then that's what he did. He said, I still made that bitch famous, though. After that, Swift calls out the fact that he put that in there, which then turns to West releasing an edited version of a phone call in which Swift said it was okay to use a lyric, but she didn't say that he could use that lyric. And this ended up in a huge social media, basically swarming and vilification of her character. There were snakes posted all over her stuff. She kind of had to do a media blackout. It ended up, really, really, really affecting Swift mental health-wise. Even after that, Kanye West, and this is something that I have absolutely no clue why this is not talked about more, because it's really, really creepy, very unconsensual, overall just not okay. In the music video for this, he has him in bed with nude lookalikes of Swift and also several other famous people and celebrities. So while no, this is not actually Swift, these lookalikes are hyper realistic, right? And are uncomfortably real looking, right? So it's important to note that things like this can legally be done without consent, even though morally and ethically they are not right. If any number of other people who had done this, it would be criticized. But because of West and, his boundary breaking, quote unquote, methods did it, it was considered to just be risky for him. And it was made into a huge thing where he was even praised for it, which is wild to be able to, legally portray someone's nude body in a music video for your own monetary gain and have zero repercussions and get acclaim for it. So that is one of the big parts of kind of the rape culture example, is the way that West has been able to get away with his treatment of a younger female artist for years and years and years. Not including all the other people, that were portrayed in that music video, nude. So that is one really big part of the rape culture aspect of how Swift is portrayed in the media and how she was vilified after an older man lied and made her out to be, lying about something that she didn't. It was just edited out for a situation she never should have been in the first place. A 40-something-year-old man should never be saying in a song lyric that a woman, much less one that much younger, much less one he had bullied, should owe him sex. Shouldn't have to say this, but nobody owes anybody sex. As we look forward through Swift's career, we see time and time and time again where she is criticized for dating. She is criticized and put on, public display because she's a public figure for, the men that she dates. I would argue that if you put just about most females in their 20s on a stage like that, you would probably say that they've dated a lot of people too. But it was kind of taken to an extreme and used as a joking point, as a bullying point for basically Swift using men as fodder for breakup songs. This narrative is one that was made very heavy, and one that still, even all of these years later, still hangs on. Even all of the awards, the accolades, the record-breaking stuff she does, that is the narrative that people like to stick on. So with that, you see, again, a 20-something-year-old acting pretty normal for a 20-something-year-old, but it being blown up in media, right? And you have almost like this hyperfixation scene on her dating life. And it's probably because she dated a lot of prolific men, none of which were given such a focus on their dating lives. I could right now, talk about Harry Styles and several, women he dated, as he rightfully should, someone exploring in their 20s. But this was seen kind of as an intrinsic character flaw on Swift. You can even hear it in one of her songs. She makes a joke, "I go on too many dates, I can't make them stay." So it's a tongue-in-cheek comment to kind of the media's portrayal of her. Let's fast forward. She's dated these men again and again. Oh, all she does is write breakup songs. All she does is using men for breakup songs, whatever. We get to a few years ago. Very recently, a comedian has kind of come forward, famously, Pete Davidson. Pete Davidson is known for dating a lot of attractive female celebrities. That is what kind of the thing became a joke that, oh, who is he going to date next? He ended up dating Kim Kardashian, lots of very beautiful, famous women. And the joke became, what is he like? What does he have, right? And praised him, oh man, look at this guy, getting all these beautiful women who are famous and successful and, objectively in some ways out of his league. And he was praised for it. He was seen as an icon. Let's compare that to Swift, right? When she was doing the same thing, she was bullied. She was told that she was using men for songs. She was told that she was not acting appropriately, running through men, and it was bad. Pete Davidson does the same thing, and he is rewarded for it and seen as, cool and a guy who has game, right? So I think it's important to look at the difference between those. And what is the difference? Well, one of them is the time, right? We do have a few years gap to where maybe culture is able to catch up a little bit. While Swift was in a longer term relationship of 6 years, those comments were still made, but maybe made a little bit less because she had a consistent boyfriend. This point is when Davidson kind of started coming on the scene, right? And I think that it's important to note this probably would have been the case for Swift had she had been a man. I think the main difference here is patriarchy, right? He is a man. It's cool for him to have women. When a woman has men or dates around, it is bad. She is slutty, or she is morally loose, or she, can't make them stay, can't tie them down. When Pete is just seen as, oh, he's really cool. He's, out of his league, and we're so happy for him. So it is really, really important that we see this and we ask ourselves why. Why is it that the reaction to Swift and the reaction to Davidson is so different? And it's because that he's a man. And with Swift, the joke has just been prevailing. She uses men as fodder for breakup songs. No one has done anything about that when Davidson has used Ariana Grande in a comedy special making jokes about their relationship. No one says that he uses his relationships as fodder. So I think it's so, so, so important that we look at this and ask ourselves, why are we allowing this narrative? Why are we allowing the narrative to where it's not okay for women to do the same things as men? It's not okay for a 20-year-old woman to act very normally, naturally in relationships. Let's move on just a little bit past that to kind of the narrative of Swift using breakups as her songs. And that's all she does. That's all she does is write breakup songs, right? Go on the radio any given moment. Turn on the radio. What's the song about? The song's about love, right? And love in many forms, almost always. Those are what songs are. I mean, think about all of the country songs that are heartbreak ballads. I'm going to use Drake as an example. Drake has heartbreak song after heartbreak song, breakup song, and he's seen as a lover boy. Taylor Swift is seen as a slut, right? Why do we hold these double standards just because it's men and women? And this is something that I'm, very passionate about because I do like the artist, but also I think it is such a glaringly obvious example of rape culture, right? Because women are held to a different standard than men. That encourages rape culture. Because it then means, well, you could do something to encourage sexual violence. You could do something to make yourself have something happen to you, and it, might be your fault. That is why this conversation is important, because there are double standards, because there are different expectations, and because women are shamed, women are ridiculed, and women are made to be less than for wanting to date and have sexual partners, while men are encouraged and praised for the same actions. Now, Swift versus Davidson and, all the other media that I've discussed that has been kind of the discourse around Taylor Swift, this is just one of many, many examples of media, right? We could go and we could pull back lots of other celebrities, women. I mean, Pamela Anderson is a great example. And even now too, Margot Robbie, the woman from Euphoria, Sydney Sweeney. I mean, look at the sexualization of these women just because they look a certain way, right? These ideas, these portrayals, they're harmful. They're harmful to society. And I think that, this is just the tip of the iceberg to talk about, but I think this is a really good example and kind of relevant in the culture today, because Taylor Swift is seen as a good light in media today, right? She's having a famous world tour, she's dating Travis Kelce, whatever. The tides will probably turn and media will turn against her once again, because that's what media does. But I think the world is more open to a discussion about, how unfair media was to Swift, how much rape culture played a piece in the criticism that she got. And moving forward, like I said, we do have obviously examples today, but I think that the landscape for women in the industry is a little bit better today because of everything that Swift endured and had to go through. She kind of had to set the path of, I hear you, I'm going to joke about it, I'm going to laugh about it, but also I'm going to make you pay for it. And faced with something she never should have had to deal with in the first place, she absolutely did, the best that she could with it. She made references in songs. She came out on the other side okay. But she could have not, right? And that still doesn't make anything that was said about her, criticism she received, okay. And we should strive to do better. So like I said, this is just kind of an introduction to something that I think I may want to start as a series, right? Looking at the ways that we see rape culture and gender play a role in society, and just kind of portrayals, especially media. We consume media every day. So y'all let me know how you feel about this one. Obviously this was like more passionate for me than most podcast episodes get, just because of my fan status for so long, but I would love to do another one of these series and look at, different aspects of rape culture and again, you know, how media really shapes our views on things. So thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate everyone who tuned in. I appreciate, you know, the views, and we will see you on the next podcast. Bye, guys.